Roman is back, and he's got a hit list a mile long, and the first names on it are Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed, and he's doing it alongside his right-hand man, main event Jey Uso, and as Breakker brutally spears him off the apron and through a table, it leaves Bronson Reed looking for a tsunami, which Roman avoids and capitalizes on with a Superman punch, followed by a giant spear for a giant win. And in Gorilla, shortly after the match, we hear Roman tell Jey that he will be back soon and Jey needs to keep the place on lock until he returns. Which of course, Jey promises he'll do, and Roman heads off for a few weeks to film Street Fighter. But in the time that he's gone, the threat only ramps up alongside the violence from Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed, who run roughshod. All being led and orchestrated by the Oracle Paul Heyman, who was banging the drum about their dominance a few weeks later and reiterating the fact that the Money in the Bank briefcase signifies that the injured architect is still in play at any time. But that summons a big reaction. Roman storms down to try and get at Heyman, and he's petrified, but Roman doesn't strike. He simply says, "I'm not here to hurt you, Paul. I'm here to take everything from you, piece by piece. You think you're fostering the next men up, but the biggest problem with that is I woke up this morning, and I'm gonna take my crown." But then Roman gets blasted by Bron Breakker out of nowhere, and Heyman, with a visceral tone, says, "You're gonna have to take that crown over our dead bodies. You're nothing without me, and we're gonna prove it. You want to take the crown? Well, you're going to have to go through the prince first at Crown Jewel." It's on. Another man on Roman's hit list is right in front of him, and it feels like this is a real moment in time. It feels like the next generation is at the doorstep. But the gatekeeper is one of the greatest of all time, and it's a taxing and physical war between the two brute forces. But of course, Paul Heyman is always going to try and help his client, and he tries to help Breakker break through. He distracts the referee purely so Bronson Reed can infiltrate the match. But Roman asks for someone to hold it down, and he certainly does. And Jey Uso comes out of nowhere, super kicks him, and stops him in his tracks. And this is where Heyman panics, and all he can do is watch as Breakker looks for a spear, but Roman avoids it. And just like he did with Bronson Reed, he finds the Superman punch and follows it up with a spear, and he pins who Heyman claimed was the next one up. But he will have to wait, as the one is still Roman. But as we're well aware, there's more on his hit list, and the job is nowhere near complete, which involves world champion CM Punk, who defeated Gunther at SummerSlam, faces current WWE champion John Cena for the last time ever. And it's Cena who ekes out the win after doing the right thing and not using the championship. But it's after the match, when CM Punk is giving him his flowers, he lets the fans down once again with a low blow. They thought there was still some good in there, but apparently they're wrong. And Cena still holds the ultimate power, but as Heyman explains on Raw, they won't stop until they do. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman, and I'm the advocate for the men who have already broken Roman Reigns. But lately, I've been watching a very different Roman Reigns. It's not the tyrant who sat at the head of the table. It's not the unstoppable conqueror who buried all those legends. It's not even the tribal chief who made grown men kneel. I'm watching a man chase ghosts. A man who has speared through the mere flesh and bone of Bronson Reed. A man who has broken the will of Bron Breakker, and yet he still can't sleep. Because no matter how many monsters he slays, no matter how loud the crowd chants his name again, there is still one man he cannot touch, and one man who holds all the power he craves. And it's the same man who cashed in on him at WrestleMania 30, the same man who beat him at WrestleMania 41 and humiliated him and stole his moment of redemption, Seth Rollins. Because until you erase the man who took the crown and laughed in your face, you're not the tribal chief. You're just another man trapped in Seth Rollins' game. Here he is, Sami Zayn. I had a feeling he'd be here, so I hired someone. Karrion Kross grabs Sami Zayn and he's choking him out of the floor. Heyman is across all bases and the Oracle is in full effect. And the destruction continues as Heyman barks. See this, Roman? More of your loyal soldiers being destroyed trying to defend you. Just like I used to. Just like the bloodline used to. This is what you've always done. And where are you now? You're not here. Reigns may not be here, but the world champion is. And he's got some steel to even the odds. And he hits the ring. But at the advice of the Oracle, Breakker and Reed dismount from the attack. And Punk, who owes Paul his own slice of revenge, is trying to get them back in the ring for the fight. But they don't. But they do, however, via an interview backstage, call out Roman Reigns for not being there to help those who chose to help him, as they say, like usual. And they also say that if Roman really wants this war, he's gonna need to show his face. Otherwise, he might have to concede that he's not the man he once was. And on Raw, the week after, we see Punk, Jay and Sami show up to face Kross, Reed and Breakker in the main event of Monday Night Raw. And it's looking dire because Breakker is looking to end it all. He's lining up Jay for a fatal spear when the roof comes off. And it's Reigns who does show his face, and he shows that this war is miles from over. But speaking of war, after he absolutely runs through the entire field with spear after spear after spear, he looks at Heyman while he's backed by Zayn, Jay and Punk, and he declares a war of his own. But more specifically, War Games. But the issue is, there is 4 with Roman and only 3 with Heyman. But he ensures that come Survivor Series there will be a 4th. And we don't find out who it is until the match itself. And the fight, of course, is fierce. It's the only way a War Games match should be. The heat and the feeling between everyone is very much built on the last few months of deception and unprovoked attacks, all led by the Oracle, Paul Heyman. Well, as Roman stands alone in the cage, waiting to get in, it's now time to find out who the last man is on the opposing side. Heyman pulls the ace from the sleeve and brings in a man who has beef with Jay, CM Punk, Sami Zayn, and now Roman Reigns. Everyone is in disbelief, and very quickly Cena gets to work, but it's also not long after that Roman enters and the match explodes to life as it officially starts. But it's not without its controversy, because at one stage we see CM Punk trying to set up Cena. He's telling Sami to hit him with a haluva kick, but Sami miscalculates and accidentally collects Punk, which gives Cena the chance to wipe Sami out as well. And now they are both out of the running. It breaks down for Team Reigns in that way, but will it break down when the now next man up, Bron Breakker, is working him over? Because as he is, the next man out in John Cena awaits his chance to help. And Breakker likes it, and he wants to hand him off to the legend, and Cena lands an AA. But he also wants to punish him more, and he directs Breakker to end him with a spear. But as Breakker takes off, Roman pulls Cena out of the way, and Breakker spears him in half instead. Roman and Cena both collapse with nothing left, and then Breakker is going to look to capitalize on the down Roman. But instead, Jey Uso nails him with a super kick with his last bit of energy, and they both collapse with exhaustion. Roman finds it within himself to drape an arm over Cena for the 1, 2, 3. And it's Reigns and his team who barely escape with the win and barely keep their momentum going against this tyrannical group. And as he arrives on an episode of SmackDown, completely unannounced after Survivor Series, he spells out exactly what that meant. John Cena, the greatest of all time, 17 world titles and 20 years on top. And now you're walking away. I get it. I respect it. But before you go, you want to ride off into the sunset with my championship? That ain't happening. Because I've saved this industry before and it looks like I gotta do it one more time. You're the champ. You're the hero. But let's not forget, I'm the only man who's pinned you since you got it. And I'll do it again. And this time, it's not for the glory, it's not for the record books, but because this place doesn't need another farewell speech from another legend. It needs a reminder of who really runs this. Saturday night's main event, Boston. Your last match, my next message. The two men, largely considered the greatest of their generations, clash on John Cena's final night. It's high emotion, high stakes, and a fitting way for Cena, win or lose, to go out in the most high-profile match imaginable. Many thought it would be Randy Orton or Cody Rhodes, but since Orton turned on Cody to keep the title on Cena at SummerSlam, they've been preoccupied with each other, and they continue to be. But that has no bearing on this match. It's one last absolute classic for the leader of the C Nation. And he's moved by the crowd. He's moved by the fact that after everything he's done, they're still riding with him. And they keep him in it until the very end, which arrives. But as Roman looks for the fatal spear, Cena shows that one last piece of fight he's known for and hits an AA. But Roman bounces straight back up and uses his last piece of fight to hit a spear, and now they're both down. Roman is forced to enter the Royal Rumble in order to get at Seth Rollins, who once again cashed in on him and cost him the WWE Championship. And the Oracle was correct. This was all about trying to take the crown from Rollins and nothing else. And Roman is more determined than ever to try and do it in front of the Saudi crowd, who sees him dominate the field. And we're down to 3. It's Reigns, Zayn, and Braun Breaker. Now the tables have turned for one of Heyman's henchmen, but he's a different kind of animal, and he takes it to Reigns and Zayn, much to the dismay of the Saudi crowd, who would love to see either of them win. But it's looking like neither will, because Roman is down near the ropes, and Breaker is now lining up Sami to break him in half with a spear. And he sprints off to take him out, but Sami avoids and flings him into Reigns, and they collide, and they both get eliminated. Sami Zayn wins the Royal Rumble in Saudi, and it brings the house down. He celebrates with tears in his eyes, doing victory lap after victory lap. It's an unbelievable moment, but it leaves Roman Reigns happy for him, but irate that he's lost another chance to get at Seth Rollins, and it was part of his group that did it. But it's Seth Rollins, who's the new face of SmackDown with the WWE Championship, that taunts and mocks him. And he says he's not, nor ever will be, the man ever again. And also that he has and always will take everything from him. which of course brings Roman out to try and get at him. He's held back by a raft of security that was organised not only by the Oracle Paul Heyman, but also Nick Aldis, who says that if he wants to get at Rollins, he's going to have to do it like everybody else. Because Sami Zayn picked CM Punk to challenge for the World Championship at WrestleMania. So now there will be an Elimination Chamber match to determine Seth's opponent, and Roman will have to go through it. So he tries, and he enters the match alongside a stacked field of Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre, Penta, and LA Knight.
Yeah.
And the dominoes fall, with Penta and Knight missing out. Rhodes eliminates Orton, but Orton, before leaving, makes sure he gets the elimination on Cody as well, with a cheap RKO, which leaves a man who has waited to get his hands on Roman for years, and Drew fights with everything he has to try and exact revenge on Reigns, because not only does he want to end him, he'd love nothing more than to win the World Championship in front of a crowd in the main event of WrestleMania. It's always been his goal. But Roman might not even have to only deal with Drew, because as the match is raging on, Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed come out, and they're looking like they want to break into the chamber. They're trying to ensure that Roman doesn't even make it out of this match, let alone to WrestleMania. And Drew loves it, and he says, "Look at you now, Roman. Outnumbered, nowhere to go. Not used to this, are you?" Roman's past of outnumbering others is coming back to haunt him as Breaker and Reed close in. The Usos together take on Breaker and Reed, and the two men who are next up are taken out by the Ones. But who will be the one to take out the chamber now there's a free run? Well, as Drew looks for a Claymore on the outside, he misses, and he crashes into the steel, leaving Roman open for a monumental and brutal spear. Reigns survives, but most importantly, he lines up his final showdown with Seth Rollins. And SmackDown is complete bedlam, with Roman trying desperately to get at him in every single facet. But Seth, led by the Oracle, is elusive and plays all kinds of mind games on Roman, while his right and left-hand men take care of the threat of the Usos. And Seth is so cocky. He is on top of the world after a handful of defenses in the time since winning the championship and returning from his knee injury. But even though they have spilled the blood of their enemies, it's blood that sticks together. And all of this brings about a sight no one thought they'd see in the lead up to WrestleMania Vegas. The Bloodline is back for one night only, one more time. And it couldn't be more white hot of a main event. However, of course, it doesn't last, because this issue is far beyond any Bloodline. It's far beyond anything that could be settled on a SmackDown, and it very quickly breaks down into complete carnage. The entire ringside area is trashed, and the war has officially gotten out of control. But the battle lines have been drawn for years, and we finally get the moment, the WrestleMania match between Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. And it comes after Sami Zayn triumphs on night one to finally capture his first world championship. But also, on less of a high note, Braun Breaker has the proper breakout performance by being the difference in the victory over the Usos. But it's when the main event of night two rolls around that history can finally be made. The two men who have shaped the last 10 years of WWE collide in what feels like the most personal and emotion-filled main events in history. And they throw their entire arsenal at each other. They know each other inside out, and it shows in every way. But someone who knows both of them in every way tries to become the difference, and that is the Oracle, Paul Heyman. Because in the ugly trenches of the match, the deep waters, the final moments, he reaches for a chair. He gets in the ring. He's visibly emotional, he's shaking, he's crying, and he hands the chair to Roman Reigns. The crowd is completely and utterly shocked, but Roman is straight-faced. It looks like he knew. Was this the plan all along? Was Heyman put in this position to poison Seth from the inside? No, because Roman throws the chair on the ground, but as he turns around, he gets caught by a pedigree. Seth Rollins has him where he wants him. Roman is barely moving. Seth lines him up. He wants a stomp, but as he plants his foot, Roman flings him in the air and catches him with a Samoan drop, and the place erupts. And now Reigns has some life, and he fires off a Superman punch on Heyman, and now he can stalk Seth, who falls victim to the same fate, which sets him up perfectly for the finale. A year in the making. It's Roman's revenge. He cleanses himself of his past. The Shield, Seth's cash-in at WrestleMania 30, the Bloodline, Paul Heyman's betrayal, everything. And he reclaims his crown, not as the tribal chief, not as the head of the table, but as a man who earned it all back as the one.